Because as you go into the subtler and subtler feeling states of whatever you're contemplating, whether it's water or your chakras or even the movement of the current through the spine, the subtler and subtler you get with it, more than likely you are going to fall asleep. And that's not a criticism, that's because that's what your body is naturally going to do. And part of our process is to learn to, as we go into the subtler, to not let ourselves do that, which is what we do. And if you have that problem, you're not failing. I remember when I first started kind of getting into exploring that capacity for these deeper states of consciousness, it really bummed me out, because I had been doing the Kriya Pranayama and I had been doing many of these preparatory practices for several years. And I thought, I'm a good meditator. I can sit up for hours and not nod off, not like these other chumps who just, keep losing consciousness. I can stay right there. But once I started going into the deeper states, I would catch myself like almost falling over. And I would come out of it. What is going on? And so I had to learn to recognize that that's not a problem, but that was indicating that I was actually learning to access those deeper states, but the body was not yet able to maintain its consciousness while it was happening. So that's why when you meditate, do not let yourself fall asleep. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if you need someone watching you with a stick for 30 minutes to smack you. You have to train yourself to not let yourself do that. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full benefit. You're going to wonder, why don't I experience what Yogananda experienced? Why don't I experience what Ramana Maharshi experienced? That is why. And so what I do, and I don't have this problem anymore, but when I had that happen, I would just notice it. So if I'm sitting here meditating and I'm starting to go into these more subtler states, and I kind of would notice all of a sudden that I'm starting to do this, I would acknowledge it, and then I would consciously sit back up and I would take some deep breaths or do some Kriya Pranayamas to kind of get myself awake again, and then I'd go right back into it. And I'd do it a little bit longer and I would notice it happening again, and okay, here it goes, and I'm having to stop and train myself. No, that's not what we're doing. So I would sit back up, or I'd even go walk around. Many people think that you have to sit for hours on end to go into those deeper states of consciousness. You don't. Sometimes it's good for you to get up and stretch and go do something for a minute or two and then come back, because that gets your prana flowing again, it gets your nervous system back online, and then when you sit down, you might find that you go deep really quick. So this is part of the process, is developing the awareness to navigate your states of consciousness. For example, we call swamis swamis. Do we know why we call them swamis? Well, the word sva and mi kind of means like the master of the domain, but it's not like master like I own you, slave master thing. It's someone who has mastered their states of consciousness. That's what it means to be a swami. And in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it describes these things called the gunas, which are related to the elements, which are the powers that make the universe happen. And the svaman is the one who has moved beyond the need for essentially physical reality and being addicted to certain states of consciousness. So when we're meditating, if we are letting ourselves fall asleep, we are being overcome by the guna, or the energetic process of inertia, which means we are bound to nature still, which means we're not a master of our consciousness. If we're addicted to change and transformation, and we're looking for that next, spiritual buzz, that is the rajasic part of nature, the guna of rajas. And so we are not a master of our consciousness. And as we learn to navigate these subtler and subtler states, we begin to recognize the purpose of the world. And in the Yoga Sutras, the purpose of the world, there's two of them. I think I remember the Sanskrit terms. The reason the world exists, the reason we are all here and you're having every experience that you have, whether it's this spiritual experience or getting cut off as you're going down the street, or eating a piece of pizza. The reason you have those experiences, there's two reasons, according to the Yoga Sutras and Patanjali. The first one is bhoga, which is often translated as enjoyment, but it just means experience. The world exists for you to have experience. Simple as that. The other reason the world exists, which is the yogi's reason that the world exists, is apavarga, which means liberation, letting go, moving beyond. And as we practice meditation, we train our consciousness, we build up momentum to let go of defining ourselves through the physical. And then we let go of defining ourselves through the emotional and the astral. And then we let go of defining ourselves from the subtle sense of who we think we are. And then we let go of everything until eventually all that's left is just an experience of spirit. And that is the whole purpose of this process, is to rehearse every day, moving from the gross to the physical, the gross and the physical to the subtle, to the essential nature, until you let go of that, until you experience a samadhi of pure consciousness.